presentation is going to show you in Photoshop how to use the quick selection tool, which is the tool that I highly suggest for selecting different things or subjects in your pictures that you're then going to adjust or copy. I'm going to show you in the sense of a selective color image. So I'm starting with this flower. And here's the quick selection tool. So here's your selection tools. You have square, lasso, and if you right click on any of these, you also have options. I'm going to choose the quick selection tool, and it has adjustments up here, just like you would for a brush or the clone stamp or anything like that. You have a size, you have a hardness. Usually put that down, not all the way down like if I was going to blend, but just down a little bit from the initial middle part. And as you can see, it has plus or minus up here. So how the quick selection tool works is if you're on the plus, you click and hold your mouse and you start pushing out. And as you can see, it is then automatically selecting parts as you stay within the actual image. Now I'm a little bit too far there, so I'll have to correct that in a minute. Let me see if I do the magnifying glass and make it larger. You could also even zoom in if you want to get closer to see the part you're selecting. So I'm going to go back to the tool, still on the plus. I'm going to try to select the white flowers too. And maybe even this part, so if I come out here, I can select this little part. So with the selective color, you might have seen something like this before, but all I'm going to do is have this part selected and then adjust the background so that it's black and white and only the flower color stays. So I selected those. Now right there, we do need to fix that. So here, if you go too far, like I went too far right here and right here, this is where you then come back to the minus. So from the minus, I might need to make my brush a little bit smaller to fit in there. Then I'll lower it down, and then I'll be on the outside pushing back into the selection. So here, I'm going to come over here, just kind of push back in. Maybe I'll even go right here and try to get that little part. Worked pretty well. It's kind of wants to do its own thing at times. I always suggest to click sample all layers and auto enhance. That seems to help the selection versus it kind of veering off. Sometimes you might have something like this where it kind of goes out, to another shape. Then you just minus, and then you come back in and push it back in to where it fits. Right there's a little part, so I'm probably going to want to get that with the minus. And you just have to look close. Right here is a little part with the minus. Maybe even right here. And then I'll go back to plus for this little tip. Oh, went too far, so I'm going to come back in. See, sometimes it'll kind of want to just go its own way. So I'm going to come back in. Maybe something like that. Oh, right here. Now, this is what I suggest always doing before doing anything after this point with the selection tool. So you have your part selected, whatever it is that you're doing. Maybe you're copying and pasting something. Maybe you're doing a selective color thing like this. Whatever you might be doing, I always suggest first doing the select and mask. And this is where you can adjust the edge. This is going to make it more believable when you go to cut it out or have any other adjustment or tool that you might use. Myself, I always do feather a little bit. As you can see, if I go up, it's going to really feather it too much. So I don't want to do too much. I usually feather just a little bit, just so it's not a hard edge and it looks more believable. Sometimes I'll shift the edge, shift the edge more or less. That's up to you, depending on what you're working on. So, okay. So I've now selected and masked the edge. Now from this point, I'm going to show you selective color. You can go many different routes in Photoshop once you have something selected. I could just go to image adjustments and just adjust the parts that are selected. See, I'm doing hue saturation, just those parts. I'm popping the color more. And actually, I might even keep it like that. Could make it brighter, could make it darker. That's up to you. I'd say something like that, down a little bit like that. You can change colors. I could edit, copy, edit, paste. And now I actually have copied those flowers and I pasted them in another layer. So now I actually have, if I go to edit, free transform, 2 sets of flowers. So if I go to my magnifying glass, it fits screen, I could go edit, free transform, could even flip them the other way. And now I even have some more flowers in there. It's up to you. Something like that, maybe. But then for the selective color part, I'm going to go back. Actually, maybe I can just go back to this background. Control Z back. I had everything selected, so I just Control Z back. For the selective color, I'm just going to go to Select, Select Inverse. So now what I did was I just selected everything that wasn't selected, so the entire background. Now I'll just go to Image Adjustments, Black and White, and now I just changed the background to black and white. So you might have seen something like this before, but that is a selective color technique you can do with the quick selection tool. The quick selection tool you can use with many other different ideas or whatever you might be doing, but I would suggest that one over the other ones. Just for me, for the way that I work, you might need a square selection tool, or some people like the lasso tool. That's where you actually can just draw around things by clicking and holding. The magnetic lasso tool kind of clings to edges, kind of like the quick selection. The polygonal lasso tools, you click, 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 it creates like polygonal shapes. And then you also have the quick selection and the magic wand. The magic wand will just kind of randomly select a bunch of stuff at once. It's a little more unpredictable. You have more control over the quick selection. And then in the rectangular, you have a rectangular, elliptical, single. But those are the main selection tools. Those are the 3 main selection tools, and there's sub-tools that are in Photoshop. So try those out, and thanks for watching.